So Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, has a new book coming out next week. It's called The Chief's Chief. We've seen a lot of information released this week about the book. Meadows has been out there doing interviews. Of course, one of the biggest pieces of information the book said was that Donald Trump actually received a positive diagnosis for COVID-19 days before that first presidential debate. He had met with Gold Star families after receiving this positive diagnosis. So Meadows went on Newsmax this week where they asked him, like, hey, Donald Trump says this is fake news, says what is in your book is fake news. How would you like to respond to that? So Meadows says, well, the president's right. It's fake news. So on the surface, immediately after saying that, it would appear that Meadows is out there agreeing that, my book's totally fake. Don't worry about it. It's just I made up a bunch of crap. When somebody asks you if the thing you're using to make money is a fraud, you should never respond like, yeah, it's a fraud. Probably not going to bode too well for you, Meadows. But Meadows did continue, and he explained it's fake news in the sense that everybody's taking it out of context. Because as Meadows claims, Trump did in fact get that positive diagnosis. But then he took 2 other tests that were negative, so, he didn't have COVID because it was a false positive rather than a false negative. So they looked at the competing tests and said, which one would benefit us more? Well, obviously being negative would, so let's just pretend the positive one is fake and the false ones are totally accurate. So the odds of an individual testing positive for COVID but getting a false positive and then a couple days later testing positive with a real positive, that's astronomical. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm sure it has happened. The odds of it, though, make it far less likely to have happened. Trump could have been in the early stages of COVID where it was difficult to detect it. Maybe the first test was able to, get whatever it is they look for on the nasal swabs, whereas the other 2, that may have been done immediately after, he already swabbed it all out. I don't know. I don't know how all that works, but if the virus was just new to his body and was just beginning to replicate, then yes, it would be easy to do a swab or 2 where you don't get any evidence that the virus is there, especially if you had already swabbed. So there's that. That's why the 2 false negatives seem more likely than a false positive, especially because, again, several days after that, he was positive. And, of course, the book talks about the guy was symptomatic, thought it was a mild cold. So stop with this nonsense of like, Trump's right, my book's fake. Well, there you have it, though, folks, from the horse's mouth. Mark Meadows agrees that his book is fake news, so don't waste any money on it. That is what I encourage people to do. Don't buy that for people as a Christmas gift. As I predicted a couple days ago, this book is not going to be an anti-Donald Trump book filled with revelations that are going to make the guy look bad. Mark Meadows is loyal to Donald Trump. He is going to remain loyal to Donald Trump. So if you go pick up that book next week expecting this to be a tell-all that blows Trump's chances of winning election again out of the water, you're sorely mistaken. Because as Meadows himself talks about, he does mention the positive test, but then he goes on to excuse it, downplay it, and cover it up, all to protect Donald Trump.